Welcome to Cine Art Colloquium. My name is Tony, and here with me is Edu, and we're going to talk about, on this occasion, about a film um, regarding a challenge made on YouTube about the films that remade us in one way or another. And the film we're going to talk about today is a film that remade Edu, and this film is Serial Mom, directed by John Waters and released in 1994. Edu, so you chose this film for this challenge because it remade you in some way as you watched it. What was it about Serial Mom that remade you?
Hello, good afternoon. Hello, Tony. Serial Mom remade me in the way of how I see the maternal figure, how I perceived it in that moment, because Kathleen Turner's character is so adamant, so sure of defending her family, but her principles above all. And it's a very funny way to defend them because she, for starters, she even plays with one of the neighbors, and she calls the neighbor and starts insulting her and making her using insults. So it's a very playful way to see a mother, but then she starts killing the people that does things she doesn't agree with.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like a satire, but it's we were talking earlier that it has some points that it's serious about, that it's criticizing the structure of society or how we relate, but at some point it keeps being funny all the time. I mean, it's I laughed out loud, and I didn't remember laughing so much the second time I had seen it. And now it was like I felt it was a masterpiece, which is not usual for it's not as quick for me to say this is a
Wow.
masterpiece because I try to slow down that judgment.
Okay, I understand. Maybe I can give like a synopsis of the film. It's a satire, of course, for sure, and it's um, it's about a family in the suburbs. I am not sure which state or city in the U.S. I'm not sure about that, but it's a suburban milieu environment, and yeah, the film portrays this family in a very idyllic way. It feels almost like from another time, like a bit naive. And you have the mother figure, which is played by Catherine Turner. She's called Beverly, and we have the husband, played by Sam Waterston, who is a dentist. And yeah, on the surface, they look like this very middle class, regular family, middle of the road. But then you start noticing that the mom's behavior is she's a bit high strung. She's a bit, yeah, like,
Not
yeah, she starts getting a bit obsessed with like small details, and then as the film moves along, you notice that there's more to it, and it's like kind of snowball effect. it becomes this really absurdist, very crazy satire about, yeah, families and the middle class. And yeah, I have to say that I hadn't seen this film before. This was my first time, and yeah, I had no expectations, and it really, I really enjoyed it. It made me laugh a lot out loud. Like, I don't remember a film in which I had laughed so much. I mean, for a long time. This was a very funny movie. Like, I really laughed out loud because it was so extreme in its portrayal of this typical mom that apparently reaches a breaking point, and yeah, she goes on a killing rampage. And yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I didn't really expect it to be so morbid. It has a very eccentric style of portraying middle class society. And of course, there are films that have touched upon that. I think the most emblematic would be David Lynch's Blue Velvet. Actually, I think this film drinks a lot from that film in its portrayal of like placid surfaces that hide a lot of dysfunction or underneath. But this film is more irreverent, and it's just very playful with its satire. It's really, really irreverent.
I
And yeah, sorry, yeah,
No, don't worry. I also remember Blue Velvet watching it
yeah,
this time because especially about the birds because there are birds. So
yes,
there are. I don't remember. I think it's. I don't remember the name of the bird, but it's mentioned a robin, perhaps.
yeah, I think, yeah, yeah,
And and well, here she likes birds. I mean, Kathleen
more than
Turner,
people.
Beverly more than people. So that's a good point. Um, but here it's like she wants to. Suddenly, in one of the scenes where the detectives appear, she starts singing like a bird. It's obvious she she's I don't want to say this dysfunctional or crazy, but she's out of her she takes her actions to the last consequence. But John Waters, in an interview I was watching just now, like we
Mhm.
said last week, we're not experts about this, about John Waters. I think it's the only movie I've seen of him. I'm not totally
Yeah,
sure. I know he has others
yeah,
past
pink flamingos, for example.
fingers, but I haven't. But he was saying in an interview that this family is functional, and it is.
Yeah,
There are some elements where they aren't, but we, for example, will listen the reasoning of this teacher that she ends up killing about Kathleen Turner's son being a little that he doesn't have to watch horror movies and he's obsessed with that and we empathize with the character that doesn't make him problematic.
yeah,
So
yeah. Sorry, yeah. Continue.
there's a functionality that the movie is trying to debate, or maybe not debate, but um, destroy that functionality or play with that with it. But they are not entirely um, out of out of the common. I mean, we can identify with them.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree we can. And you're right. I think it is a very impressive feed that even though the character is, yeah, I would say a psychopath, yeah, that we don't really hate her and we don't wish her ill. Like
Yes.
I think it's very accomplished that we recognize that she's also the product of the environment in which she lives in. And I think that's one of the points of John Waters' um,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
filmmaking here. I would say, yeah, yeah. It's she's like she. One could almost say that she has her own set of values,
Mm.
and yeah, in that regard, she's probably not crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's a commentary on not on an individual. She's never really judged, because I think the film shows that the culture at large and middle class society at large is not much less crazy than she is in many ways. It's just that she's an example of reaching the tipping point. There is a scene near the end, during the trial. Yes, she gets arrested for all her murders, and she goes on trial. And yeah, the daughter starts selling T-shirts and, and books outside of the court. And there are some moms there who want to buy these T-shirts because they identify with
Mm.
Beverly.
Hmm.
So that's saying that she's not the only one. It's not an isolated case, and that there are many others who are maybe reaching also their tipping point, and that could very easily become serial killers. Yeah, of course, it's played for laughs, but the the statement is there.
Yes, and you can judge. I think it's. I was telling you earlier that it reminded me of Wes Craven, some movies of Wes Craven,
Mhm.
especially the Scream series, the Scream Saga, because the feminism of her protagonist is amazing. I mean, they defended themselves. She is her own lawyer in the
Yeah.
courtroom, and
Yes.
that's and she manages to she doesn't only kill people. She gets to mm, ration, rationalize
Rationalize.
and get the other person out of character in front of everybody else. So she ends up and not being innocent, not playing innocent, being very uh,
Sly.
yes, exactly. And that's similar well, not only Sydney in the Scream saga, but in the end of Scream One, she kills one or two of the killers, and
Yes.
it's one of them is Matthew Lillard. So there's another reference there,
Yes. I also thought of him while I was watching this film.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
he's uh, one of the son of her, and he
Yeah.
likes horror movies. So the reference is very near, and well,
Yeah.
2 years after Serial
Yeah.
Mom Scream came out,
Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
it's this thing that horror movies that you can find some learnings in horror movies if you don't take them too seriously. And the other thing in Serial Mom is that you have gore, obviously, even literal gore with the way she kills one of her victims. But
With it, and the other one with a chicken breast.
yes,
Yeah,
which
that's
is it's bigger. In one of the episodes, they were talking about this, the way she kills. She avoids the knife and she chooses the chicken breast.
yeah.
But um, there's a little melodrama too. I think I thought a little of this director that we usually talk about from the 50s.
Cirque.
That yes, a little
Douglas Sirk.
Douglas Stern, because here there's always a laughter and I would say all of the scenes.
Yeah. But also the
And
family, the way the family is portrayed, it looks like a family from the 50s, almost. Like it's so naively portrayed, like at the beginning, of course. I think
even
that's the
yes,
ploy of the film. Like they want to start showing you, the film wants to start showing you a very naive family as a normal American family, and then very gradually you start to see all the less, well, I don't want to say normal, but yeah, like the less sunnier side of the family. Like yeah, and you start to see that the son has a rather excessive obsession with horror movies,
yes.
and the mother doesn't blink and yeah, doesn't even blink in doubt, like yeah, that's normal, that's okay. And that's also, of course, a statement about the way we trivialize and banalize violence in society.
Mm.
Yeah, it has a lot of social commentary, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, in this scene in the uh, video club, where one of the clients she doesn't rewind the VHS, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And I think it's the son who says that's the problem with all the family films you've seen, because she rents Annie.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
that's right. Yeah.
and yeah, there's this the I would say the main criticism the movie has is about being naive. And it can be, I mean, at least in my experience, it can be very, I don't want to say expensive. It can be very problematic to be naive. And
Yeah.
these characters are not naive at all.
You mean the
Not even
family?
the daughter.
You
The
mean the
family,
family or the neighbors? Or,
the neighbors are, no, not even the neighbors are naive. They're, they can be mean.
the
I mean,
neighbors, I
for
don't know.
example, the woman that doesn't recycle, which imagine a reason to kill someone, but because
Well,
of not recycling, which is it's also a social commentary, maybe not intended by John Waters in that moment, but nowadays is a very important topic
yeah, that's right.
about eating too. There's a lot of criticism about the way the characters eat. And
Consumerism, yeah.
you were talking about it earlier. And but imagine this reason to kill someone because of not recycling, even though the character, I mean the Beverly, has told her neighbor to recycle.
Yeah,
So it's not like, oh, she keeps recycling and I haven't told her anything, but I'm going to kill her. It's not that. And we believe that she's talked about that before. we trust, and yeah, obviously it's problematic that we trust the killer, but that's the good thing about the movie, the strength of the movie, is that it has shades. Shades. It's
Yeah,
subtle. I mean, yes, it's a satire, but it has its subtleties,
yeah,
and that's why we laugh harder because we can relate to some of the ways she reacts, even though we won't do what she does.
yeah. It's I think the film expresses also on the more serious side, even though it's played for laughs, it expresses also a crisis of ethics.
Yes.
Not only in the way in which the neighbors behave. Yeah, they behave in a very careless way. The way they
Mm,
eat, how one of the neighbors doesn't recycle, the way they just consume, but also in an even more extreme case, how um, Beverly, when she becomes a suspect of being a serial killer, how many people, and especially younger people, see her as some kind of hero idol, like as a cool person because she is a suspect of being a serial killer. I mean, that's a very strong statement about how ethically and morally disaffected the society is. Like when she goes to this concert, and that's a very pivotal scene in the film, and she's recognized by everyone because she's been in the media as a suspect of being a serial killer. Then she she is let into um, the place where the concert is going to be held, and she gets cheered on as if she were some kind of hero, some kind of cool idol, kind of like a rock star. But she's been admired for being a serial killer, and that's really
mm,
disturbing if you stop to think about it. And yeah, that's a very strong commentary on a crisis of values, a crisis of ethics. And of course, it gets even worse during the concert, um, where uh, one of the main teen characters gets burned alive right there on the stage, and people are just cheering on it.
mm.
Yeah, that's really, yeah, that's a very strong commentary on simply the way we are so desensitized, I think it's the word, towards violence and pain. We're just very, of course, the film does it in a very over the top way because it's a satire, but it's a very sharp commentary on the way we simply are becoming more and more indifferent towards suffering and pain, and how we channel our frustrations towards admiring people who have very questionable moral behavior. And that's something you see in a lot of media, in a lot of pop culture, the way people are obsessed with mafia shows or crime shows or crime movies. That's all a reflection of this frustration that many people have, and this desire to simply burn everything down. That's something that the film really touches in a very sharp way. It's very, very clever, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I like what you say about ethics. She stands for her ethics, and despite that, she's not. Um, she, we don't admire her for that.
I
we could
hope.
question. Yeah, we could not only criticize her, but we see the complexity that she's messing with her neighbor, insulting
Yeah.
her neighbor, and we don't understand why.
The film
You know.
is very, I mean, I've thought about it, and I think she does all that stuff because she actually, I think she hates her society and she's frustrated and she thinks it's a very hateful and I think nihilistic worldview. She's, I think, nihilistic, and that's why she doesn't see value in others because she hates how other people behave, how careless the neighbors are, simply how others just don't share her values. And she simply comes to a point in which she thinks she's superior to these people. And that's why she takes the liberty to simply go on a killing rampage. She's just, she
No,
just thinks, but that's of
would you
course,
say?
that's all, that's of course only an interpretation of mine, but I think it's getting, it's, I think it's a valid one. And yeah, I think that's very interesting too. Yeah.
She
Continue.
cares. She
Yeah.
cares for her family. Wouldn't
Yes.
you agree? Mm.
Yes, I think she does. Yeah. But she does not care for people outside of her family. I don't think so.
Yeah, and even in the end, we kind of feel that she's more important than them.
Yes, of course. I mean, she completely manipulates the justice system. She thinks she thinks she's above
She
society.
doesn't do it by herself. She uses the two
Well,
guys from
yeah.
the garbage. I forgot the word.
Mhm.
And her the support of her family is also, they act like a group, even if she's more important. And we get to know who's going to play her, but not who's going to play them, for example. And in the end, that's like the twist, because if she's a killer, well, she's going to keep on killing. But in the end, that final scene makes you feel that she cares to be next to her husband. Maybe I'm reading way too much in that scene, because
Yeah.
the main thing there is the white shoes, but still, she comes back, and she feels that Suzanne Summers is stealing her place, and there's this rivalry that um, I don't think she's that lonely, or that she thinks that much of herself. But obviously, is she's a woman that can defend herself, not only in the street, not only attack other people and kill them. She also can defend herself in a courtroom. I had forgotten about that, which is very. It speaks volumes about what John Waters wants from her and from Kathleen Turner. That it's a very. I care for Beverly, and that's due to her performance.
Yeah, she's great. I wanted to talk about her performance a bit. Yeah, she's really she holds nothing in. I mean, she really goes
Mhm.
for it, and it's a very, I would say, vanity-free performance. She doesn't mind getting her hands dirty, sort of speaking, and it's very, yeah. She really embraces the characters' potential for being delirious and yeah, she's really wicked. Really, she
Yes.
embraces the character's potential for wickedness in a way that is very vanity free. and in a way that is not judgmental. And that's, yeah, she,
Mhm.
it's a great performance. I am sad that it was not recognized at the time, but I think it really stands the test of time. Yeah, she's really brilliant in it.
And she has a lot of style. Even though she uh, gets her hands dirty, usually she keeps her style. In one of the last scenes, a reporter asks her, "How, who cuts your hair?" Something like that, and it's really there's something about this Hollywood classics that they were interested in hairdo. I think a lot, for example, of the hairdo in Vertigo or
Mhm.
etc. There are many. And here you kind of wonder that she cuts her hair or she has this wave in her hair, and yet she has a lot of style, even
Yes,
though she's very.
yeah, she plays like like a Stepford wife, more or
Mhm.
less. Yeah,
And you can also imagine her being wicked. So that's I like that we would say in Spanish she's not a motolita. She's not that throws something and hides her hand. No, she
yeah.
you can imagine she's being mean.
She's very like she's very manipulative, and she's very, yeah, she's like a she's a very she calculates a lot, like, yeah. Yeah, that's very Machiavellian, actually. And that's why, yeah, that's why she does what she does. Like, she's really, I wouldn't say, I mean, I don't think she's noble, but I understand her frustrations. Like, I understand, and I think John Waters shares this frustration too. Like, I mean, the film's style is very clear about the way John Waters sees middle class society, and his vision of it is very grotesque and very vulgar. And yeah, I mean, there's yeah, there's no two ways about it. I mean, it's a very clear denunciation of middle class society, the way people behave at a concert, at this concert, for example, and this venue, which reminded me a lot, crazily enough, to Antonioni's film Blow Up. The way this crowd is mindlessly just jumping around without rhyme or reason, like completely without any sense of order. It's very chaotic. That's why I think the film touches upon this nihilism, the way middle class society is kind of numbing itself with um, the way middle class society is becoming more banal, more frivolous, and that also applies to violence as well. Violence is seen as something normal. Like when you see violence on a movie or on television, it's like second nature. It's nothing out of the ordinary, and no one bats an eyelash at the sight of violence. And that's why, of course, it's exaggerated, it's over the top because it's a satire, but that's why people don't mind that she could be a potential serial killer. So yeah, I think the film touches on all those aspects. Yeah,
Well, we should be closing right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Would you like to comment on anything else?
I was very surprised. I didn't expect to be such a perceptive film. Yeah, I think it's one that I will appreciate more and more with every subsequent viewing. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think maybe for me it gets a little bit too broad or too over the top near the end. Like it's a bit too much, like some of the, yeah, like the trial, and it's a bit exaggerated, but still it's a good time. It's a great time actually. I really enjoyed it. I laughed out loud. I mean, wow, I don't remember laughing so much and really out loud at a movie in a long time. And it has a lot of sharp social commentary and a great performance by Kathleen Turner. Really great, really memorable. So, yeah, it's definitely worth watching, and it's a relevant film. Yeah,
I'm glad you liked it that much. I really do.
the more I think about it, the more I like it. Yeah.
From movies of that decade, that I have several that I laughed with very much, like the Naked Gun Saga, Sister Act 1 and 2. But those are movies that are almost mindless fun. I'm not so sure about that, but here you laugh very much and you can still find a lot of social commentary, a lot of technical aspects that make you think about the movie, make you think of what they are talking about, how you can see portrayed in the images. So yeah, yeah. Now that I rewatched it again, it's one of my favorites, and it definitely it
Remade
makes me
you.
it makes me. I mean, it's funny that to me it's not about a serial killer, but about how much a mother can defend her family. It's not a role model, but I saw it that way, you know? Which, well, obviously the film is called Serial Mom, so it's not like I'm imagining something else.
Mhm.
But I think it's very, how to put it? John Waters was saying in one of the videos I told you about, and he was presenting the film in the British Independent Film Institute, and he said his mother thought it was his best movie. And I think that speaks about what a mother can be. You know, I'm not quite reaching what I want to say, but it's it's very it's very representative to me, this film.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah,
well,
I can
we
imagine. Yeah.
you can you can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
Well, for now we have to say goodbye.
It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
It has been a pleasure, and it will be again next week.
Happy
Next
to.
week we're going to talk about Persona.
Yeah. Which is a
That's
film
your
that, yeah, that's a film that remade me. And oh boy, that's going to be an interesting conversation because, yeah, that just, wow, that's really, it's still today a film that really had a profound effect in the way I understand cinema and art and psychology and life. But yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll
next
talk
week.
about Persona next week. Yeah.
Thank you all for watching us, and we will get back to you very soon.
Thank you and bye. Have a nice weekend.